just gonna talk about my budget tools. I'm gonna do it as a live. Please comment along if you are watching live. If you're not, I appreciate you watching this afterwards as well too. So we're gonna be talking about all my types of tools I have that are all budget tools. Then we'd probably go on to talking about why it's worth having budget tools if you're just a normal DIYer and not a full-time mechanic, because obviously it's not worth investing in them tools. Get a few things organized here. Got the iPad with me so we can like refresh my memory on the prices of things. Let's talk about a couple of brands I use. So first off, I do have DeWalt as my impacts. I don't own a impact wrench, but what I do use is just a normal impact. Yes, it won't break bolts off or nuts off, but it will save you time when you can get the gun in position, because they're so tight spots, they're not really designed. But to take the rest of the wheel nut off, or to take drop links off, or a lower arm, they're perfect because you have all the room in the wheel arch. So there's DeWalt. Then there are some Blue Spot tools, which is this brand here that I use, which I had to get from my local shop. These are okay. I've never had any problems with them, again, because I'm not using them repeatedly day in, day out. They will last me. So for a DIY, the tools I'm talking about are perfect for you. I think my Sealy set is, for sockets, is less than £100. And with like Snap-on and the big brands, you don't even get a 1/4-inch socket set for less than £100. So with the Sealy brand, they make go-to for mechanics, and then I do miscellaneous stuff for everything else. There's some like Aldi middle aisle stuff, like the Works Own ratchets. It is. Or these Works Own stuff is like with Aldi here in UK, and you can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-piece ratchet set, and I think I paid like £7 for it, £8. I thought it was just not gonna last me, the ratcheting would go, but listen, it's quite satisfying. I thought they would have broke, I thought maybe these here would have snapped, but again, because I'm not using them, and I don't use them to break nuts off, because I know they're not good quality. Then I know not to put them under extreme pressure or anything like that. So I always break the nut off and then ratchet it off with this. I don't think I've ever really used this. I might have once or twice to break a nut off. So but again, they're so cheap. If you end up losing one or one breaks, it doesn't matter, does it? It's not the end of the world. And it's not as if you're going to be buying another one and then breaking that one, because you probably won't use that one again for another couple of months. You know, they're going to last you a good couple of years. Easy. And then something like this, the Sealys have a lifetime guarantee. And these feel sturdy and effective when I'm using them. You know it isn't going to slip, it isn't going to damage your nut or your bolt. That's the only thing when you're using like... Have I got any beer? Oh, in here. Like cheap sockets like these, like they're not even branded, they just come out like Wilkinson's, for example. When you pop into Wilkinson's, which doesn't exist anymore, or Home Bargains or anything like that, and you buy the cheapest thing on the shelf because you need it there and then. They do last because you're not using them day in, day out like mechanics are. But sometimes they can get you into a bit of trouble. If these start to round off on the inside, it's then going to start stripping your nut or your bolt. And then that can leave you in a position where you don't have the right tool, and you may need to purchase a more expensive tool to correct the mistake. So when I know I got to use something that is very reliable when I'm working on somebody else's car, but still don't break the bank. I think it's like 20 quid, 25 quid for the deep 1/4 inch. And I know what you're going to say maybe in your head when you're watching this, yeah, but they all come together. I think, and that one is 30 quid. This is 50 quid now. And you have every socket you need for a DIYer. You don't need anything else. I've got a 1/4 in deep, 3/8 in shallow, and a deep 1/2 inch. Because I'm not taking these big things off. And you don't really want to use, even though like you got a 10 mil 1/2 inch, don't really want to be using that on a bolt which can be used on a 10 mil 3/8, because you don't want to be snapping bolts and stuff like that. So having different sizes and is very beneficial. So here's the 3/8 shallow. These are the, I think they call them lock-on Sealy. And see if I can get that to see it. If you can see, they got an extra spline. So if I get one of the other ones, maybe you can see the difference. So you got these like extra splines here, right in between them, and they lock on to where they say they can remove 80% rounded nuts. So like I said, so if you're using something like this and you round your nut off, I know I got something to do it, but I just don't use these anymore. They sort of like my retirement ones, and once you're doing more and more, it is worth investing in something that's going to last you long term. But if you're just changing your brakes or changing your drop links or your lower arm or your brake light, for example, and it's not as simple as taking a bulb out, you've got to take the headlight out these days. You know, these things on bargains and stuff wherever you can find that's cheap, a pound shop, you know, pound shops anymore, Poundland, whatever, and just other brands are available. Same with Sealy, like they're all out there. It's just my go-to. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just I haven't had any problems with them. So this is like my Sealy organizer as well, but I don't know. My thoughts on that wasn't the greatest. I haven't really used it yet. It just shows the sockets, because the way I got them in here, anyway, I can see is I had to line them up so all my sizes are there. So I know. And I've even put them in the wrong way, but there, look. That's like my sockets and my go-to brands, really. And buying the cheap ones, I think that's Blue Spot. I'm not entirely sure. My Torx. But I just, when you're done with you, let me talk a little bit more about these, because I got Sealy ratchets. Here. Just a set of 3. Which are very, very beneficial to me, because I have all 3 sizes, my 1/4 inch, 3/8, and my 1/2. What I would like is swivel heads, but again, do I really need them for the work I do? Nope, not really. But I went for the extendables, They were that a little bit more. I think it was like 35 quid for these. Sure of it. We'll go through the prices at the end, one by one, on the iPad there, and I'll go and bring them all up. These extend, so I didn't have to have a set of small ratchets, a set of longer ratchets. With these, you know, they're all nice, tight and compact, and I didn't have to spend that extra money buying two of the same ratchets, but just in different lengths. And again, lifetime warranty. I think it's 72 teeth. Really satisfying sound. Smooth all the way up to the 1/2 inch, which goes, I think that's nearly 450. So look. Yeah. So it turns into a 450mm ratchet. All got the lock in, reverse switch, and they click on lovely. They do not fall off. You gotta press the back button to release on them, so you know you're not gonna lose that socket in the engine bay. It's not gonna fall off. That's the worst thing probably for DIYers. We got to cope with, we got to learn to deal with. We don't have the car up on a ramp. We don't have the power tools to do it. We don't have the flexible ratchet heads. We do everything very awkwardly because we just don't have the right tool to make the job easier for us. But I'm happy with that. We learn the hard way, and we still get it done. I then have this Sealy Premier for the Allen keys, the Torx and the splines. You can see them over there. So your H's, your T's and your M's. These are impact ready. They can fit on 3/8 and onto my 1/2 inch ratchet. So when you want to something that size, you're probably going to need the 1/2 inch. Will I ever use them? Probably not. I've used all my Torx on all my hexes, but not the splines. Like just tightening door straps up, removing the top of an oil fuel filter, sorry, not oil filter, these for the caps. Sometimes these are the calipers, or even the Torx are for calipers, or they just be a 17 or a 19 socket on them. I've showed you the spanners we have here, or the ratcheted ones. I spoke about them a little bit. Like I said, they're super cheap and lasted me, I think I've had them over 5 years, surely. I must have. Yeah, I must have. It's impressive. And then I have the Alphard tools. I don't even think that's just like a random one. I have no idea who that is. And then we have the Alphard Advance flare nut. So like I always say brake pipe spanner, but I think it's called a flare nut. I am not a pro. And then Alphard's Advanced 911. Then we get on to stuff like no brand at all. So I don't care using these, using and abusing these. I'd use that end as a striking bar if I need to hit a ball joint out or tap a track rod end out, or anything that needs a little bit of persuasion. Pliers, I think they are just literally Watch Shop or Home Bargains or B&M possibly. All them shops like that are really good for the DIYers. I appreciate them, guys. Again, no idea who that one is. Drop forged. So lasted me donkeys. The grip was gone on it, but for what I need. Perfect. So that's like my portable toolbox I had to take with me. This is my one that stays. And we'll be very brief on this one, because there's nothing exciting at all, so we just have knots, like stuff like that. Screwdrivers. I've seen that earlier on. So let's just have a chat for the next 10 minutes, because we've had nobody come in, but we're going to keep trying. It's the race to 4K, and we are trying and experimenting, and I need you guys to help us new creators on YouTube. Really need you to. First reviews. I bought these recently just to test whether it's any good. I'm gonna have to find somebody that's got a decent ratchet torque wrench and try and compare the accuracy on these. Just to torque the caliper bolts and torque your some plugs. It's really cheap. I think that was like £18, and for the torque wrench, that's very cheap. How accurate it is, I don't know, but in my head, this has got to be more accurate than the feel of my hand. I don't do it enough to know what 21 Newton meters feel like, or the 50, or the 10 even, or the 7. I have no idea what that feels like. This must be closer. It's got a certificate with it for calibration, so it's being calibrated. I need to understand exactly what these means. I know how a torque wrench works, but this says it's 4%, a min of 18.42. If your set point is to 19, you'll have a minimum of 18.24 and 19.76. So it's about 2. So yeah. It's calibrated, it says. I always set it back to 0 as I store it. Then we have all my other little bits, like to get all the brake dust off calipers or the rust, along with wire brush ones. So if you had to put a new disc on, and you can clean that hub up and make sure that disc is sitting nice and flush, and you know, don't end up with warping 3 months down the line. So make sure you clean that. That's the important part of brake jobs. People say they're easy, but it takes time. There's no point rushing brakes. Wire brushes. I have a DeWalt Combi to put them scrubbing tools. I just showed you, like the wire brush and the abrasive pad. I had to keep a little jack just in case, if you ever need to put a bit of pressure on something, lift something up, lift something down. Obviously it's a jack. And all that is kept in this bag here. So I had to take this and this with me. We've got extension bar, nice long extension bar, just in case. It was cheap, it was there, so I picked it up. Power bar, 12 quid, 13 quid. My other extension bars, obviously all different lengths. I think these are 3/8. Yep, all 3/8 extension bars. Torch, and then I got little like precision tools, like tiny flatheads to get in and take them. I like the pick tools. You can't buy these tools for their purpose, but when you're taking them fuel lines off and you need to push them clips in, that works perfect for me. collected this over the years. What's the total of all this? I couldn't tell you, but it's definitely all less than £200 if you're not counting the DeWalt drills. Obviously, they were bought for this. They were bought from an website. So I won't count them in it. But yeah, I would say that having budget tools definitely benefits you. If you're just a DIYer, you don't need to be spending that super expensive money or to be doing them DIY repairs. This is like all budget stuff. I think we had a viewer at one point there. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Really put me off, I did. Sorry. Where was I? Yeah, the budget side of it all. You don't need to be spending on expensive stuff. You probably use your socket 2 or 3 times a year, but you know you'll always have it. And God, did I just lost that viewer? Don't let it bother you. We keep going. Keep going. Oh, the one tool. This. How can I forget about this bad boy? This. I will not use this again. It scared the living shit out of me. It pushed the caliper back lovely. As you can see, pushes out lovely. But when you flick this switch and you want to go the other way, that does nothing. I had to hold that and really undo it. Now I don't think that's what's meant to happen. I'm pretty sure once I naturally go the other way, it should be catching it, but it doesn't. And it did absolutely scare me when I used that. So I would not recommend using one of these at all if it's a cheap one, because it might overextend on you and get you in a whole lot of bother. I don't even know if they can come all the way out. I think they can come all the way out. And that's quite an extending range, but there it is. Quite goes quite far. Ratcheting is no good on that though. Gonna have to have a look at that. Yeah, for that. Wouldn't use that. Or the CDs. There's the comments too. Okay. Thought I said I had a new one. Yep. These are definitely my go-to and my favourite thing out of my entire box. It's the other thing I never used. I've used this before to bleed brakes, but I haven't used the vacuum side of it. I never used this end of it, the vacuum side of it. It's a nice job. I probably would like to do as a DIYer, something to learn. Let's see if we get any more people. There's some people in here. I had one or two bounce in and out, but nothing substantial. Appreciate the people who have watched. Premier tools are definitely the way forward in my eyes. I don't think you can get much better for the price that they are. They're a UK brand. I think they're a family-run business, so you get as good a support. I'm probably just gonna end this stream on the 30-minute mark now and say thank you to everybody. Thank you for the 1 or 2 people who did watch. Hope I entertained you, and to the people who are watching and made it to the end, that's not watching it live, I appreciate you guys too. Hope you stick around and see you on the next one.